Hi everyone, my name's Chelsea, aka Sunspren. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm talking about House of the Dragon, episode 6, and this one is a lot. Uh, there's a lot to talk about. Mostly excellent, and a couple of things that could have been better, I think. Uh, Without going into spoiler territory for just a second, there are a lot of new characters. Um, there's been a jump forward in time, and there's fallout from that. Fallout that is fantastic and phenomenal, and some that is a little too much too fast, I think. Uh, but anyway, let's get into this spoiler territory uh, for episode 6, House of the Dragon. That first scene is phenomenal. They could not have done a better job introducing us to the new Rhaenyra, the new actress playing Rhaenyra Targaryen. Um, the birth scene was thankfully less gruesome than the one in the earlier episodes, but still, that terror just hovers around the whole thing, and the queen commands Rhaenyra to bring the boy to her, and Rhaenyra has to like walk the gauntlet, having just given birth, to drag this baby up to the queen, right? Horrifying. And the thing going through my mind the entire time was, shit, there's been a power upset here. Like, the balance of power has clearly shifted if Alicent can drag her ass out of bed like this. And it's clearly done on purpose. That maid doesn't say, oh, she meant later on, or oh, it's okay, I'm sure she'll, you can come whenever you want. It was a right now command, and it's a power play by Alicent. Laenor is so amazing. Like within the first, just as soon as he walks up to her and says, oh, a son, well done. Like it's all her. Because it really, kind of is. Even though he pulls that bitch move and names it after his ex-lover a few minutes later. He really is, like, you could just see their entire relationship within this scene, just between the time she's given birth and they make it to Alicent's quarters. Something this show excels at is delivering so much information in such a short period of time. You almost miss things sometimes. I kept waiting for there to be another look between Alicent and Rhaenyra that I missed. But anyway, Laenor and Rhaenyra are clearly, you know, they have a marriage, they let each other do basically what the other one wants. Are they really partners? No, but they are trying to be supportive of one another. They have not stopped trying to make this, clear sham hold up, right? Just for the sake of doing it. And he's certainly 100% gay. Rhaenyra has changed some in the 10-year gap. Imagine that, people change. I've seen a lot of complaining on social media um about this actress in particular, and I don't really understand. I loved Millie Alcock as Rhaenyra. She was fantastic, smug, arrogant, um, entitled, but also deeply sympathetic character. To me anyway. I mean, you're a woman who's been named the heir, and you know, you the assumption is that you're not gonna make it. And that's for a teenager whose best friend ran off with her dad, or like was sneaking in to marry the dad behind her back. Through all of that, Rhaenyra was tough as nails. It was kind of refreshing for me to see that 10 years later there's more to her than smugness. I would expect after 10 years of marrying somebody, of having children, of all of this stuff, that you wouldn't be the same necessarily that you were at like 16 when you, you know you just wouldn't be the same necessarily. Now, me, on the other hand, I made a decision when I was like 12 that I wasn't going to have any kids, and I'm 34 and I don't ever intend to have kids. Let's hope that never happens because I don't want that to happen still. But Rhaenyra has to do this anyway to secure her line, and that's been made plain. And apparently she did eventually accept that. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make and not making very well by discussing this particular scene at length is that HBO does so much with so little time. This is a whole new person portraying this character, and she, out of everyone, has changed the most. It is a massive risk, massive, to recast this character, despite the fact that they had to. They had to do this because she's older and has multiple children. You can't just have this little, girl playing her. You're not going to be able to, I say little girl, it's not believable. You need someone who looks like they've had some children, um, for one, and grown up. But this is a huge risk, and HBO does it like it's nothing, right? They're just like, you'll believe it. You'll believe it. No problem. Don't worry about it. And I swear to God, it pays off. It pays off so well. I will miss Millie Alcock. I will miss that Targaryen arrogance and the fire in her eyes. I will miss it desperately. However, Rhaenyra here is absolutely no less tough than she was. But she's also not an idiot. And she has to know, um, Alicent is holding many, many cards against her. So this summons is a direct threat to her. And she knows it. And to her child. And I kind of have to give her props too for not just saying, oh, yeah, sure, deliver the child to her, because she doesn't trust Alicent, right? She's not leaving that baby for a second. Anyway, I love that. More things in this episode that are. We got our new Alicent. Alicent is just perfect. She transitioned from that young actress to this actress, and I hardly missed anything, except that Alicent has grown to spread her paranoia about Rhaenyra, her legitimate paranoia, but to everyone, right? And I get the feeling that what they've really set up here is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Imagine that too. Alicent has spent the last 10 years prepping her children to be heirs, ensuring that they receive the finest training and the sword by Criston Cole and not Rhaenyra's children, ensuring that, making them entitled. Does feel, if nobody's more entitled than the kid that's masturbating out of the window, by the way. Disgusting. Uh, at 14 or whatever, however old he is, Aegon, I guess. Anyway, she has instilled fear in her children, or she's trying to. She's definitely gotten the entitlement part in there. I don't know about the fear that they'll be the heirs, and she's creating the very scenario by which the Civil War happens. Rhaenyra definitely contributes to this with her extramarital, affairs and stuff, but she had to have a child. She had to have a son. Now, she didn't have to have three sons with this guy, but she had to have a son, or at least an heir, right? Very important that she have more than one. Um, in a way, this is probably a birth off between her and Alicent. Um, how productive can they be? But anyway, I find that fascinating that Alicent is creating her own problems. In fact, or egging them on anyway. In fact, whenever Rhaenyra, I couldn't believe it that Rhaenyra at that meeting said, "Hey, I'll tell you what, let's just end this shit. Okay? My son will marry your daughter. What do you think? Let's do it. We'll end the whole feud right here." And Alicent is like, "Nah, nah." Now, granted, this is marrying a bastard to her daughter, which in her eyes would be a major insult. But if you think about it for a second, like really think about it, if all Alicent cared about was the same thing Otto supposedly cared about, that avoiding civil war, avoiding a conflict regarding Rhaenyra as the heir apparent, um, preventing rebellion, if that's what Alicent's goal really was, she would have taken Rhaenyra up on the offer and said, okay, yeah, sure. And it would have put a stop to everything. End credits, right? But no, Alicent doesn't really care about the kingdom now either. It's been 10 years. Maybe she cared about this once upon a time, but she's had her kids, they're older. She's terrified for her sons. Just terrified. And she wants them to be terrified by her, by Rhaenyra, threatened by her. I'm not trying to paint Alicent as the villain. She is certainly, um, I'm just saying she's not all sweetness and light, as people have said. Clearly, Rhaenyra is a morally great character. She is stubborn and willful, and she wants to apparently be able to have relationships willy-nilly with anybody, just like a man would. Uh, I find it interesting. One of the defects, one of the problems with this episode and the time jump, I think the biggest one for me was Sir Strong as her lover, father of her three children. We are given absolutely no background on why she took up with Sir Strong, other than that he's available. I know he's the one that carried her out of the wedding debacle in the last episode, 10 years prior to this. But that doesn't explain why this guy, like I understood why Sir Criston, because Sir Criston was with her all the time, was a supporter of her, was indebted to her. She felt a connection with him from when she was young. Uh, well, she was young when she did it, but whatever. You know what I mean. They had a history together, or at least in her, I could see how in her mind they had a history, and that they'd been playing this game for a while, and Daemon started her up, and she just grabbed the person who she had always kind of had a thing for and did it. Um, I'm not excusing what she did to Sir Criston, but I'm saying I understand it. There's context for it, and not with Harwin Strong. They don't give us anything. And I found that really odd. Of all the things that this episode could sort of gloss over, the father of Rhaenyra's three children, like what connection there was between them really seems like it would be important, but maybe not. Um, Rhaenyra probably didn't find it all that important as long as she got to have what she wanted. She does tend to use people. Maybe that was the point. I'm not sure. Moving on a little bit from that, we have Daemon and his children. Daemon has changed in 10 years. Daemon wants to stay the hell away from fighting and just chill out and stay the hell away from like strife and who's going to win the Iron Throne and who's going to do this and that. Totally different than he was 10 years ago. Another very bold, shocking, surprising move by HBO because Daemon carried the episodes so far, and he did not carry this one. I think I know where they're going with this. We're going to see the return of Daemon, the former, with a vengeance, very, very soon. But they had to show that he did have a life. He did try to have a life. I mean, and how I love it. I think it's wonderful that they trust their actors enough to say, okay, there's been a 10-year time jump. Now you're a mostly different person. You've had some children, you care about people now, your wife and all this and your life, and you kind of value life. Maybe you'd rather just have a kingdom somewhere else than put up with Iron Throne nonsense. And that Lena was the one who wanted back in, who wanted to go to Driftmark and, make sure her kids had their birthright and all this stuff. Fascinating. And we only got a little bit of their relationship before she dies. Another bone of contention. I've seen it all over the internet. That people don't understand why she did it. Given that we were told she could survive this birth and the baby would not, or they could try to go get the baby and put both in harm's way. Anyway, but she elects to go to the dragon and get roasted alive. You know what? I get it. I mean, I'm sorry, she didn't want that life. That was not the life Lena wanted for herself. Clearly, she wanted to be a dragon rider. And that's why she married Daemon. And, now she has these children and all this stuff. And he doesn't seem like he wants to risk anything anymore. Or maybe not anything, but he doesn't want to take risks unless they're the ones he wants to take, I guess. So she tells Vagar, I think it was Vagar, to roast her, Dracarys, and she does. I wasn't overly hurt by that because we don't know Lena that well, but it was poignant. I thought it was wonderfully done. That scene was great and probably a testament to how god awful birth is that she just said, fuck it, no, I'm not going down. I feel, no matter what the Maesters say, she may have known in her heart of hearts she was going to die. And I mean, horrible, I would think, to take the baby with you, but hell, it's her choice. Um, and since this is fiction, I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, I understand it. If I was in enough pain, I'd probably want the dragon to take me out too. Anyway, Daemon is now available, and like three guesses as to what he's going to do next. What else do we have going on in this episode? We have the children, and they are some weird ass children. Alicent's eldest, Aegon. Oh, gross. I don't know why they needed to show that. That was to me a little HBO being HBO. Well, you won't forget who this one is, will you? Nope, he's the one who was wanking it out the window. Nasty. Um, but it tells you everything you need to know about his character right in one go, that this is his pastime, and ew. They're very blonde-headed like their father. And Viserys is still doting old grandfather slash father to all these kids. But the Kristen Cole egging on Harwin Strong to step in when the children are fighting one another. Classic, just classic. Even Kristen's face, he was smiling as he got his, teeth punched in. He's all bleeding, but he's smiling because he got exactly what he wanted out of that. Um, some kind of proof or, you know, outward demonstration that these children are not whose parent they really, you know, share. Who really is their father? Just what a shame. And then Laris has them all has them roasted. That was dark. I didn't see that coming either. I was like, oh shit. The very end, Laris has Harwin Strong killed. Sad, burned alive. And Alicent tries to play all, I mean, she really didn't order that. And that's what she tells him. She's like, that's not what I meant when I said I wanted my father back. I didn't mean like kill everybody to get him here to make an opening. Ugh, so bad. But now Alicent's got serious blood on her hands, even though I don't think that's what she intended. And I still think Alicent actually does kind of mean well, but now she's as paranoid, almost as paranoid as Cersei was in defending her children. And that's never a good place to be mentally. So paranoid that you can't see an opportunity that presents itself. I still say she should have married her, maybe went ahead and married her daughter to one of Rhaenyra's sons, although another incest thing. Ugh. But they do that all the time. Targaryens don't seem to care, do they? So I would have definitely put an end to some strife. What else is going on in this episode? Rhaenyra tells Laenor to pack up his boyfriend. They're going to Dragonstone. So they do that. Um, so much going on with this one. And anyway, that's what was done really well. Just HBO lets you think. They allow the audience to infer things about characters. They don't give you everything because they know their audience is intelligent enough to start putting pieces together and forming different opinions. And they like that. They want their audience members to do what we're doing, to talk and offer opinions, and then someone else come along and comment and go, no, 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 you're a moron. You didn't notice this, 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 and this, and blah, 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 blah. And like all this, they want that discussion open as much as possible. And they're brave. God, they're brave to do that kind of a time jump because essentially you're starting the whole show over again. 5 episodes in, when everybody was on board and everybody loved it, you stop and restart. That's ballsy. And it works. About 70, I'd say 75 to 80% of it worked, which is way more than I would have, if you just told me, oh yeah, we're gonna restart the thing halfway through. Huh? No way that's gonna work, but most of it does. The only parts that don't for me are, like you said, Harwin Strong and Rhaenyra's relationship, which they could address in remarks about the past, uh, dialogue easily, even in Valyrian between her and Daemon later. They could cover a lot of ground with that. We haven't seen a lot of the mother's relationship with their children. A little bit with Rhaenyra. She certainly smiles at that baby, and she's certainly that's a purely joyful moment when she has her child. And she also, has that moment where her son asks her if he's a bastard. Well, Rhaenyra is a damn liar, but She lied by omission, so I guess no one's surprised by that. Rhaenyra's pretty open to the concept of lying, shall we say. But still a likable character. I think I like the vast majority of these characters very much indeed. But that's really the huge thing that stuck out for me. I was like, oh, that didn't work. The rest of it I think did. I think most people will accept the new Rhaenyra, although it will take a little time for some people who loved Millie Alcock so much uh to accept that Rhaenyra has evolved some. But Alicent hasn't. And some of that makes sense. I don't want to get too far into baloney territory here, but Rhaenyra is the kind of person who takes risks, who is open to change, and is open to adapting. She's very adaptable. She'll adapt her morality on the drop of a hat. You know what I mean? And therefore, it is not surprising to me to see her alter over the course of 10 years. She's protective of her secrets. That's about it. Everything else is kind of she's bold in most other things. So changes are to be expected in her character, I think. Not Alicent. Alicent has stayed almost exactly the same, only less sweet now because she doesn't have to be sweet anymore. She's had 10 years of paranoia and fear and want and ambition and wanting her children to succeed. Um, to chew on and believing that Rhaenyra will just have her family murdered when it suits her. Could be any day now. She's been living with that for 10 years. So Alicent has stayed very much the same. Bless her heart. Except that she's not as sweet anymore. Dang. Daemon changed a little bit, but I bet he'll be coming back around soon. Everything else seems to have worked really, really well. They're just so gutsy. I admire that. Most shows don't have that kind of guts anymore. Oh, that's all I got for tonight. That's my review in broad strokes of some specific ones. Some fine strokes, but mostly broad. For episode 6, I'm sure I forgot something. I can already tell that I forgot something, but it's getting late. So I'm going to go ahead and end the video here, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Bye!